And we're back once again, only on It's Last Call. Last Call at the Alcohol, only on the lastcallpodcast.com. And now join me here once again when I want what really goes on in pro wrestling, somebody who knows it, who sees it, and who is unbiased and unfiltered. I give you the man who I've heard rumors. I can't confirm them, but I've heard rumors he'll be leaving us. He's going to join Team Trump as their new head of security, of special security. That's right, Haas. I give you the man's 26-inch natural pythons. I give you Kevin Apollo. So, Kevin, first off, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you and the family. I hope everything's going well.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Hope everything's going well with you, brother. It's been a minute. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be
I know.
back.
Well, I'm somebody who isn't doing too well. We have this right here. It's Bronson Reed. So everything's now come out. Broke both ankles. I missed WrestleMania. And as a big man, I think I could have heard you going, "What the f are you doing? Why are you climbing to the top of the cage?" So you're a big guy. You are like Bronson Reed. You're the powerhouse wrestler. So I know you feel sympathy, but how much do you look at this and go, "This should have never happened"?
You know, the men's war. The only reason I'm going to bring this up is because just to kind of contrast it. So everybody pooped all over the women's war games match, right? And then everybody loves the men's war games match. The I'd say the big difference to me is in how the matches were put together. The women's match until got towards the end, and it started to focus in on the wrestling and the story of Rhea trying to get to live and all the heels jumping on Rhea, and then Io's big spot. The beginning of that match was very centered around how are we going to get our weapon spots in, and it was very just disjointed, just just it just wasn't working. It wasn't working, and I feel like because you had Nia and you had Raquel in there, they were trying to figure out how to deal with the fact that they had two major powerhouses in there who really should have just killed everybody until Rhea got in. You go over to the men's match, and the one there was an actual story there, unlike the women's match. So they were able to let the story kind of tell itself and play out a little more naturally. And then we got to the big spots at the end. Me personally, I never really went off the top rope. The one time I did was we were in the I was wrestling with this dude named Brawley. We were in the Edison Convention Center. There was like 2,500 people there, and it was my first time in a main event. And he convinced me to go to the top rope, something I'd never done before. And when you go, naturally, not to give away trade secrets, but when I go off the top rope, my dance partner is supposed to open up and help me with my landing, right? We're gonna make contact. We're gonna dilute the the trauma of impact, disperse all that kinetic energy, and then I'll fall together. As I'm coming down, I don't know what happened, but he must have gotten scared and he literally ducks down. And as I'm coming down, I'm like, "Oh, you MFer." And when I landed, you ever seen the movie Arrival with the alien
Yes.
who, their knees go the wrong way, like Iron Cheeks? I felt my knees do that. I could not walk straight for almost 2.5 weeks. I was just like my calves were super tight. I don't even know how I finished the match because as soon as adrenaline came, that I actually couldn't walk for about 20 minutes. And then I needed help. I needed help getting to my car, and then a friend of mine drove me home. The so I don't think it's anybody's fault. This the injuries are temporary. Knock on wood, injuries like this are temporary. These guys were chasing the moment. It's war games. It's a major pay-per-view, with the exception of the bloodline. The entire opposing team has not been there before. These are all, relatively young guys trying to make their mark. And they want balls out. And listen, stuff happens. Just stuff happens. It's yes, anytime you're a certain size, you are, well, listen, anytime you're any size, let's be honest. The just a regular back bump, it has a trauma, is it traumatic to the body. It's like you got into a very minor car accident. So the higher up you go, middle rope, top of cage, you're putting your body at risk. So it's I yeah, I can't really blame anybody. I understand why he did it. I don't blame him. He's young enough to kind of eat it. It was a freak thing. It was a freak thing. He could be. Then we go back and look at it. It could be the difference of if the table was out, 5 more inches, he may have landed a little bit differently. Or if he jumped higher up in the air, like he put more of an arc in, as opposed to his shot down. There's different things that you can look at to really and chew on that could probably have made a difference, but this is just a freak thing. It is what it is. The only thing that matters is when some kid in 20 years goes back to watch, Survivor Series 2024, they're going to see this giant animal jump off that cage and go through a table, and that's all they're going to remember. That's all they're going to remember. When Bronson Reed gets back, he'll be better for it. He's going to, clearly, Triple H has top guy plans for him. So the sky's the limit for whenever Jonah's better.
I guess my problem with this is I understood why the women do it. A lot of them are tiny. We saw what when they brought in weapons, it looked funky. And maybe, as I said, it's because you have arguably four women in the women that was working this match who are probably under 5'1" and 115 pounds. So you're working with what you got, and even Bailey, Naomi, and they're on the smaller side. Outside of Bianca, Raquel, Naya, and Tiffany, they're kind of smallish women. They're not really big. They're not these super athletes. I get it. With
Yeah,
Bronson, I guess my concern was he really didn't need this. I know WWE likes to do all these high spots. I mean, I guess I blame Chris Parks because there should have been the adult in the room going, that's kind of a bad idea. Top rope, fine. Top of a cage, you're a big guy. Like as Undertaker used to say, big guys should do big guy things, not try to be smaller, flippy dippy people. And that's my I guess
hmm
my concern with Bronson and Chris Parks and even Michael Hayes. Like somebody should have said, okay, you're not used to doing this. Let's just hold off. I know you like the big spot, but you could have just done a top rope onto the table with Roman, and that still would have popped because hey, he missed on Roman Reigns rather than oh yeah, jump off 30 feet from the cage, try to land, and no, let's hope for the
Uh,
best.
well, I'll say there's. I don't disagree. Like I said, I understand why we got there. It's one of the bigger pay-per-views, but at the same time, you go back and listen when Rikishi jumps off the top of the cage on the Val Venus, there's the same amount of risk of injury there. And Rikishi was bigger, bigger than Bronson. And what pay-per-view was that where they did that spot? I don't even think it wasn't even like it was a big four pay-per-view. It was just a regular pay-per-view. So for every once in a blue moon, you have to give your talent space to create the moment. And listen, Bronson, we've been watching him leap from the top rope to the commentator's table, top rope to the table in the middle of the ring. There was no reason to not believe that he knew how to handle his bump because he does it all the time. And he did worse in TNA, for the short time for the time that he was there. You know, so yeah, I get it, but at the same time too. Hey, listen, the job of the agent. Hey, listen, let's try it this way. But the boys are gonna do what the boys are gonna do, unless they're specifically told that you need to be doing X, Y, Z. They have the freedom to put their match together. The agent's just really gonna work to make sure it makes sense and that you can get out safe. And clearly, they got the okay from someone. They got the okay from someone to go up there and do what they wanted to do. It's again, this isn't like this is an opening match scenario where someone's leaping down and like I don't know, like this isn't pretty deadly
Sky of a
versus
trash can, where
Portugal.
even that was like, okay,
Yeah,
what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
many people doing. You're trying to AEW does all that stupid crap. You shouldn't be able to do that. You know better. Actually have like adults running the place, not a giant child.
Well, listen, that's the difference between WWE and AEW is you can tell that the spots are discussed. Listen, there's risk in anything. You could listen, getting into the ring, there's a risk. You could, you could jump into the top, you can jump into the ring like how Punk does, land in a funky spot in the corner and have an ankle or a knee issue. It's just the nature of the beast. Anything can happen at any time. And we have seen it happen, but like you could tell like there's a discussion, clearly the risks are laid out versus an AEW where we're having the 19th ladder match of the month, and now, our two 20-pound guys are going to do some kind of triple power bomb off of a ladder from the middle of the ring to the floor, and you're watching everybody land and they're mangling their knees, their ankles and their necks. Clearly no one discussed the safety ramifications, nor do they really take the time to kind of work out, hey, what's the worst case scenario? And we've seen some pretty gnarly injuries happen in AEW just over the last 3 years, not even its entire history. The you've seen me say it many times. I am fairly certain that unless they get it under control, we're going to watch someone die on AEW television. The You don't have that issue in WWE because there are adults who run the business, and AEW does not have that. It's a free for all, and that's it's you go from something being risky to something being dangerous. And to me, that's the biggest deal. Like I said, there's always an element of risk. You never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. Versus, hey, you guys are going to do something, and this is dangerous. There's a difference between Johnny Ace telling Sid to go give Scott Steiner a big boot off of the top rope, something that makes zero sense at all. Just I can't even fathom why they thought it was even going to work, even if Sid had landed it. Um, versus I don't know. Well, listen, exact same move. Edge, and Randy Savage doing the top rope, or Savage did a double axe handle, which was even more insane. Edge giving the elbow, Savage doing the axe handle off of the top of the cage. Edge destroys his entire lower body, and somehow Savage was just fine. Then, by all rights, because he was going onto his feet, it should have, it should have been it should have been ruptured ACLs and Achilles and probably a fractured foot. And it was just he was fine. It's kind of one of those things where it is what it is.
Is it time for them to go back to the old format of War Games where you had, a top of the cage was basically topped off with basically with a sort of a fence roof. You didn't
Yeah.
have weapons. It was just basically all right, pure, more gritty, more natural, and you're not risking injury with, hey, let's bring in weapons, let's bring in tables, let's jump off the top of the cage. I get W likes to do the big, iconic sort of now like, hey, these are gonna get clicks on Instagram, but
Yeah, yeah. It's time for the new designer
considering
video
you've
package.
now lost Bronson Reed until probably June, and you get more people who get injured or hurt because hey, we're going to use tables, we're going to use this, and tables, you cannot shave down chairs, and tables are still tables.
Jimmy's hurt, Bronson's hurt. Is Jay hurt?
He's probably banged up. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are banged up. You have two guys who are hurt, but is
You
it
know,
worth it, or is this one of those things where it's just, hey, WWE likes to do pretty stuff. They like to have those iconic images, and well, knock on wood, and hopefully nobody gets killed.
it's I personally like the match beyond better. I like the roof on the cage. I like submit or surrender, but this is the WWE. They have always their cage matches have always been different than everybody else's. It's a totally different scenario and philosophy. The again, I was talking to someone about it a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Well, it's war, right? Like it's war. Why wouldn't you have weapons used in war?" Now, what I would like to see going forward, because I think the last 2 years of war games have we watched you graduate from NXT up to the main roster. This one and the last one, I believe, were entirely too weapons focused. It was almost comedic. The women get out of the cage and they immediately start pulling things out from under the ring. It was almost like you were playing No Mercy all over again. Your friend your friend runs out before the match starts and starts loading the ring up with weapons. So it's I think they need to one well I'll start with this. The boys and the girls do not need war games. There should only be one War Games match, and either the women get it or the men get it. And if the women happen to not get it a couple years in a row, it is what it is. If the story isn't there, we shouldn't be jamming them into the match. Like heaven forbid, there's a Survivor Series match on the Survivor Series pay-per-view, but I think this doubling up stuff. I get it. It's expensive to use the hall and set up the cage. We want to get our biggest bang for the buck, but I think it dilutes what it is. The war game should only be dusted off if the story calls for it. The second thing I would do is the next time we do this, fewer weapon spots. If we're going to use a weapon, it should not happen until the very bitter end. I think you get more out of trying to think. Like one of my favorite war games finishes is the Deadly Alliance one where they're beating the crap out of everybody and Arn Arn and Zabisco and Eaton are working to undo the turnbuckle, and the Zabisco he hits Arn, right? He hits Arn with the with the turnbuckle. I think if you broke it down and made it a little more simple, focused on the fight, let them beat the crap out of each other, let them bleed, let them use the cage as the weapon. If you save the big weapon shot for at the end, I think you'll get more for less. Listen, look at what they've done for the pile driver over the last 3 months. The pile driver to a younger wrestling fan now is back to being as lethal as it was for their fathers or their grandfathers watching Lawler do it to Kaufman, all those years ago. It means something. We put Randy Orton back in the shelf. It decimated Cody to the point that he had to be stretchered out, and now Owens is running with the title. So if you can do this for a move, you can certainly prep the audience for a match. It's I want to see a little less Hell in a Cell and a little more War Games when they go to do the next War Games match, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. So that leads us to. I'm glad you brought up Randy Orton because that leads us to our next topic here. Of course, that's right. Tessa Blanchard is back. The Pearl Clutchers are all
Oh my
upset.
God.
Hey,
Give
she's
me a break.
evil. She's racist. She's a bully. She's responsible for Donald Trump's 2 presidential elections. I'm kidding on the last part, but
If that's the case, then good. Put Tessa on Raw right now.
I mean, I hate to ask this to wrestling fans, but do we remember some of the other people you guys love? Like CM Punk assaulted somebody, got fired, and everybody WWE was like, "Hey, he's back!" Woo! Randy Orton was a known bully to a lot of people, and congrats to him. He's gone through hell, I guess, with second marriage. His second wife has helped him grow. He's become a true locker room leader. He's grown, which a lot of people can't do.
Mhm. Well, listen, and that's the thing though, Chris. People grow up. People grow up. We have forgotten, especially I scream about this all the time. In the social media era, there has been a move to remove context from conversation and from information. Facts and context is king. Facts are important, but context is king. If I see you walking down the street, I go, "Oh my God, Chris just punched that old lady." Right? It could be factually true. But the context of why you hit the old lady is because she was a terrorist about to set off a dirty bomb, and you saved everybody. So the now, if we were to throw that on the internet, there's going to be three smelly turds from the IWC, where every time your name pops, it goes, "He punched an old lady," and we're going to ignore the rest of the story. Or, hey, listen, someone could be an absolute a-hole, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and then something happens to them on their 23rd birthday. You know, they find religion. They have some kind of an epiphany. They wake up one morning and go, I can't believe I'm doing it. They have their Groundhog's Day. They have their Groundhog's Day moment. You don't know, but people change, right? We're supposed to leave people with the ability to change, and we're supposed to, have the capacity to forgive someone who wants to be forgiven. Tessa has come with her fair share of controversy. Yes, absolutely. Did she earn her time being put on ice? Yeah, most likely, yeah. The but so have a lot of people who have been able to walk through the door, and got arms wide open. It's the selective outrage from the internet community, from the wrestling internet community, that I find really the most irritating. And then I go, we got to do a deeper dive here. I mean, let's frame this a little bit. Tessa is about to win the Impact heavyweight title. Feel about that however you want. It is what it is, but it was a big moment in wrestling during a time when TNA was as dead could be, right? It was really, there was the only difference between Impact and ROH at the time is that, you know, people remembered that Impact was on TV at one point in time, because Spike was just recently not a thing anymore. So other than that, it was a zombie fed. Tessa is going on her tear there. She's beating all the girls. She's winning all these banger matches. She gets into the feud with Callahan, and for whatever reason, it caught attention. It caught fire. She goes on Busted Open to talk about it. Um, for whatever reason, I don't remember. I think what she sent out a tweet saying no one's supporting me or some nonsense. And then all of a sudden, because Tessa's been hot for a while, all of a sudden, the rumor mill starts spewing out, and now we got a parade of girls saying, "Oh well, she did this, she did that." I was like, well, and I always go, whenever things like that happen, I always go, where were you 6 months ago? Where were you 8 months ago? Why is it that when this person's about to do this thing, all of a sudden you need to start airing dirty laundry? To me, it goes, it clearly didn't bother you that much. Or there's more to it. Why didn't you confront her? It's fine if she used the word, she wasn't supposed to or shouldn't have. That's on her. But to sit down and want to try to staple, a scarlet racist to her chest, you got to do a little bit better. She dated Ricochet. She clearly doesn't have a problem dating black men. She married a Mexican, moved to Mexico, learned how to speak Spanish. The stayed in Mexico even after she broke up with him. Couldn't work in AAA, so went to CMLL. The Clearly she's not that good at being a racist. So to sit down and scream racist because she did one thing, well, am I supposed to every 14 through 27-year-old out there who's listening to I don't know, ASAP Ferg through whatever, people who drop N bombs in every rap song ever. If you said it, does that make you a racist? I don't. If you like Biggie and you're singing the words, well, am I supposed to go? You can't do that. You not to the Phantom Zone with you. You've been. I don't. Who gives a shit? There's more important things in the world. If you can't delineate between someone saying something they probably shouldn't have, but that's not what's in their heart, or someone singing a song lyric, or someone just making a mistake, between someone who has actual malice in their soul, you are part of the problem. Quit your bitching. Hey, guess what? Tessa's back. Why? Because she's an effing commodity. She's got name value. She's proven herself. The clearly TNA is over whatever the issue was. Yes, was it really annoying that for whatever reason their heavyweight champion was not submitting promos during a time where when talent created content was more than essential. It was the only way to keep her promotion afloat, right? Because during the lockdowns, and I just think it's hysterical that that a place like TNA and NWA had the problems that the indies have, where your talent, you're there's no such thing as a card that has ever been sold by a promoter or a booker. It is the talent. It's the talent who sells the show. Your job as the promoter or the booker is to facilitate the story that the talent can work inside of to generate the buzz or the interest. But I can write the greatest story known to man. If I don't have the wrestlers to pull it off, it's not going to work. So you get to COVID and you can't wrestle in front of people. No one really knows how to handle the first couple of weeks. So that means that we need pre-tape, we need content, we need content galore. And she wasn't the only one who did this. It was a big problem with a lot of the roster. But as your heavyweight champion, you are the if you get the big belt, you're the trendsetter, you're the torchbearer, you're the example setter. You are the one who has to stand and deliver and be the most reliable. And she wasn't. She just wasn't. And then when it came time to start doing the arena matches, and yes, travel, international travel was difficult at the time, so she wasn't going to be able to travel easily. They said send us back the belt, and I guess on her side, she said there was a little bit of a pay issue. And so she refused to send, she eventually sends it back. I'm assuming they had to have figured it out. And guess what? 2 years later, she's back. If they don't care, you don't need to care. You don't work there. You're a fan. No one's telling you that you have to cheer for her. But don't bother the people who do. Clearly, there's money to be made in Tessa Blanchard's name, and I would not be shocked if the main reason that she's back is because someone in a larger company said, I wonder if she's had enough time to cool off, slash let's see if she's grown up a little bit. Because yes, I'm pretty sure she was probably smelling her own farts because she had everybody gassing her up for 6 years. And we all know that when that happens, shit gets turned upside down. But I just I don't understand this Tessa Blanchard debate. I don't understand the crybabies, the and the and the fake white knights running around crying. You're not going to say it to her face because she'd whoop your ass. You have no actual skin in the game. These girls aren't going to love you. So just shut up. Just shut up and mind your business and make the choice. You can either watch it and deal with it or don't watch it. But stop bitching about it. Find something else to do.
If she were a guy, would this be a problem? Because I think
Absolutely
back,
not.
and as we said, CM Punk, JBL's now doing the rounds. Everybody loves that. And he's
Yeah.
bullied more people than you can argue an Army drill sergeant. Shawn Michaels is revered, and yet everybody knows that he was the biggest scumbag at one point. He's even admitted it. Brock
Yep.
Lesnar, Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is
Listen,
pro wrestling. There's a lot of guys, not everybody is Cody Rhodes. There's a lot of these
listen,
guys who are kind
listen.
of bullies. They are alpha males,
Mhm.
and we don't really care unless it gets way too out of line. So if
Listen,
she was a guy, would this have been a
no,
big problem?
I don't think so. No, no. I think that this is an issue because, for whatever reason, she's just catching more heat. If this was a guy, it would have been boys or boys. Again, you'd still have one or two virtue signalers making noise, but this is just goofy. Again, we've seen a lot of people do a lot worse. Again, modern internet wrestling culture is a little different. If someone wants to make a big stink about something internet, There will always be someone there to grind that axe to dust. But I think for the average wrestling fan, one, they don't even know about it. Two, they're not going to care about it. Three, if they did hear about it, they're over it. Who cares? You can look at how she lives her life as a person and go, these things just don't add up right. There's probably a little more here that I need to know about. And you know, if and I think the two, you know, the one of the girls who lodged a complaint, she said that they're okay now. So if the people involved in the initial issue are okay with each other, there's no there there. There's a nothing burger.
Well, it's as you said, if people overreacting. So we got to talk about this overreacting. That is, of course, Saturday night's main event viewership revealed, and it was basically 1.59 on NBC, an extra 700,000 on Peacock. Once again, if WWE stands or they're just going, ha, 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 ha. We beat AEW again. AEW people are going, oh, you only got 2.4 million. That's not much. And of course, Dave Meltzer, AEW's Baghdad Bob, and Fightful are even going, well, that's kind of a low number. Should we take it to context? It's Saturday night. Nobody, most cool people do not want to stay inside and watch TV. And unlike back in the day, in the 90s, there's more channels you can shake a stick at. There's on demand. There's Netflix. There's Amazon Prime. Break it down for us. How is that? If you're WB, how happy are you that you got this number? How upset are you got this number? And how much are you looking going? Hey, it sort of aligns in what we probably thought we were going to get.
I'm sure. Listen, WWE's got to be over the moon. The Saturday night's main event. You listen, we know that if you look at SmackDown as the base, right? And I'm not saying WrestleMania season SmackDown. I'm saying like your just average run of the mill episode of SmackDown. When it was on Fox. What are there? What 1 point something? 1.2. If The Rock was on, it was 1.5. Right. So they did a The Rock is on, everybody knows The Rock is going to be on TV number for one a network they're not on often. They haven't been on NBC since what, 2008.
Yeah.
Saturday night's main event is a staple for guys like us who grew up during a time when Saturday night's main event was a regular occurrence and was a nostalgia tour, but that nostalgia tour shut down in 2008. So we're used to finding NBC to watch WWE. WWE's not been on. Let's see. If you are, let me just do some quick math right real quick. The oh, it's what year?
Like usually, they beat the NBA, which most
Yeah.
people don't think understand. Like they beat an NBA game, which ESPN's paying $2 billion a year to get those games.
Yep.
So
So there's someone who's 16 years old who's been alive for 16 years, who has never seen the WWE on NBC. So they pop The Rock is on, and then you had an additional 700,000 plus on the Peacock side watching it live. Right. So that puts them at over 2 million people. That's a tremendous number. We're never going to know, but you have to also factor in the people who watched it when they got home, right? Saturday night TV is, unless you are someone who is what, maybe tops 38. If you are 38 and older, we remember a time when Friday and Saturday TV was a thing, right? Like all the hot new shows, it was during the 80s and the 90s, it was a big deal. But in 1994, that all came to a screeching halt. And the only network that had anything on a Saturday night was CBS, because CBS has always been the old people network. So you're watching Dr. Quinn and freaking Walker. The outside of that, nothing comes on Saturday. And the reason for that is people have other things to do. Factor in now, there's 7 jillion channels, 4 jillion streaming options, and if your kid plays a sport, kid sports are radically different. If your kid plays basketball or hockey, you may have 3 to 4 games in a day. So your people are busy. People are busy. But the fact that over 2 million people tuned in to watch it live is a big freaking deal because that means that it was your audience plus normies. That means you pulled in lapse fans, casual fans, and some people who are watching for the first time. And you're doing it now as we're knocking on the door to WrestleMania season. The the only so W does not give a crap about AEW. AEW is a non-factor. Only AEW fans want to pretend that they are in competition with the WWE. But what did Collision do? Collision barely had 200,000 people watching it. There are YouTubers. Critical Drinker gets 1 million people a video. Within about 72 hours. So there are YouTubers who are pulling bigger numbers than Collision. Let's break down to the aftermath with Hunter and Owens and getting the footage of the beatdown. From the WWE social media accounts, over 45 million people watched that footage. That 45 million people, that means that more people you would it is that 45 million. If we took the entirety of this year's Dynamite, that clip beat it out by like 10,000, 15,000 people. So an entire calendar year worth of Dynamite.
That's
Plus,
the one thing I hate to jump in, but is that would Peacock get upset about that when it's like, okay, why couldn't you have ended the main event or ended the show on that note with Kevin Owens beating, Cody Rhodes, shoving, you know, Triple H, and hey, we have a hot product rather than it ended with Cody Rhodes celebrating. Owens it looks like he's in tears outside, and it's okay. I get the 45 million views. I understand that part, but was that sort of like, okay, we did a great little thing, but our network partners are going, well, why couldn't we've gotten this on our dime?
well, it wasn't a Peacock event, right? It was an NBC event.
Yes.
So again, you got to remember, like you said, they beat the NBA. NBC is through the moon, is over the moon. The Peacock, on the Peacock side, they're also over the moon because that Peacock is not a top performer. Most people have Peacock because it came included with their cable package. Or they have it just for WWE. We got to be honest. So you had so if I'm not watching football, if I'm not watching football or wrestling, who's really watching Peacock? You my wife.
NFL fans because they get a couple games, but yeah, most
Well,
people aren't.
but if I said if you're not watching football or watching wrestling, who's watching Peacock? Other than well, I guess do they get any NBA games on you
They'll get
know
them next year, but they'll
right?
get
So
sometimes
yeah,
those
that's what I'm
women who
saying.
watch Bravo Network. So it's
What is it? Yeah. So and my wife watches all the Dick Wolf shows. So and it's only because we have it so that I can watch wrestling. The So this was a boon. This was a boon for everybody involved. You beat cable. You beat the NBA. Which is a ratings juggernaut. The it's everybody made money. What do the kids say? Everybody got to eat. So the people who are complaining are the doomsday seers who want to make sure that they're always miserable. And I scream it's that bizarre 10 culture. If the movie wasn't a 10, it sucked. Or I just need to be miserable. They should have done better. Like, well, by what metric? By what metrics? If this was 1998 and you told me they did 1.5, yeah, guess what? That means the show's canceled because an episode of Raw by itself was what? Doing 5 million people, 6 million people. Between Raw and Nitro, there could have been almost an upwards of 10 million people watching wrestling on a Monday night. But TV's different now. And again, let's see. We don't know how it got viewed on Hulu. We don't know how it got viewed on Peacock afterwards. What else? Let's see, NBC Universal, all the Spanish broadcast. A lot of people saw that show. A lot of people saw that show. and a lot of people are very happy about it. It's like I said, I love it. Meltzer can be Baghdad Bob and try to spin it however he wants. It doesn't matter. A lot of people watch that show from beginning to end, and the enthusiasm for what happened was there, because people were intrigued enough to go online to see what came next. That 45 million people didn't happen by accident.
Well, we go from once again here, and I am, as I said, we're pulling up stuff, and we got to talk about this, and that is, of course, whenever we talk about wrestling. Yeah, we are. It is back here, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Khan, disgruntled talent. It's not just Ray Phoenix. It's not just Ricky Starks. It's now more people, it seems, because, well, it is AEW. Even Camille now is supposedly now upset because, well, we have no idea what's going on. How
It's
did it
like
get this bad? I mean, I get, and I'm trying to understand. I get, that there's a lot of roster, a lot of wrestlers. Not everybody's going to be happy, but what is he doing? Why don't you, if Ricky Starks and Phoenix don't want to be there, at what point do you just go, all right, you know what? I'm letting you have a contract. I'm doing what Bischoff and McMahon did. Okay, you guys don't want to be here. Screw it here. Hit the free agent market. I don't care. I'd rather focus on the guys who are happy rather than the guys who are just miserable.
this is about leadership, top to bottom. Tony is an incompetent leader. He's a weak leader. He's ineffective. It's just it's about leadership. There is clearly no direction. No one knows up from down, down from up. There's clearly no meaningful communications from anybody where it really actually matters. There's no plan forward. This you can tell the show is spinning its wheels. It has been for a really long time. There is no difference between Dynamite now than 6 months ago, 2 years ago. It's the same bad show. There has been no growth. There's been no growth. It's the same people. Well, let's look at the pillars, right? What, 2 years ago, who are the pillars? Darby, Starks, MJF, Jack Perry, right? Were those the four pillars? Is there someone in there that's missing?
Yep, Darby Allen, Jack Perry, and he who shall not be named because of the crystals, Sammy Guevara.
That's right. So two of them aren't on TV. Two of them aren't even on TV. I don't ROH does not count. The two of them aren't on TV. Um and another one, is only there because he made an unreasonable salary request and went back because he had to go back. So this isn't really working out the way that they keep trying to pretend that it is. Your roster is unhappy. Because they can it's not a talent issue. Here, I'll back up and start it that way. All of AEW's problems have nothing to do with a lack of talent. They have very talented people there. You have very experienced people there. You have big match experienced people there. You have people with a lot of raw talent. You have people who where it's obvious what they have, but it needs to be nurtured. So talent is not the problem. Storytelling, storytelling, time management, and leadership are the problem. That's nothing that has to do with the wrestlers. So if you're a wrestler and you sign to this company and you get promised the world and it's all rainbows and sunshine and it's blue sky versus Twitter, and you get there and you find out the place is a burning dung heap and no one knows what the hell is going on, and you're like, well, what am I going to do here? And now, because I signed a super long contract, I can't get out of here. AEW is where a talent's equity goes to die. Look at Camille. Camille. Camille was a force of nature in the NWA. I really wish she had made the choice to go to NXT instead of going to AEW, because she would be in a radically different spot. but you have an attractive, statuesque woman who's bigger than most of the girls. She has presence. And what do we do? She sits at home for almost a freaking year, right? It was almost a year, 9 months before they decided to put her at Mercedes. And then, all right, we did something with her because the internet said, "Where the hell is Camille?" And this is the easiest story in the world. All you got to do is just retell Shawn Michaels and Diesel. Don't let anybody get any heat on Camille or Hunter in China. All right, don't let anybody get an ounce of heat on Camille. Make her this unstoppable monster, and then when the time comes, you turn her baby face, and she's the one who finally defeats Mercedes, or whatever that you're gonna do with it. Right? What happened? We blow it immediately. We blow it immediately. Like within 30 seconds, Britt Baker's chasing her off with a kendo stick. Well, when anytime you did something to Camille, it should have been you touched Camille and she no sells it, and then the baby face has an oh shit moment, and they got to back up a little bit to try to figure out how to handle this monster. And we just blew it. And now she gets fired or quits. Being Mercedes' bodyguard, has been seen on TV since, when she should have been lighting Mercedes' ass up as soon as it was over and done with. The and nothing, and it's going to continue to be nothing. Let's see who else. Hey, where is Scorpio Sky? The I think he's allegedly injured again, but is he really? Where's Miro? Where's Miro? How many how many people are on this roster who just do not get used, and or stay used poorly? And then you got guys who want to get the hell out of there. You know and my other problem, Tony, is let's talk about the Ray Phoenix thing, the or the Lucha Bros problem. Tony does not apply. Tony does not apply his standards consistently. Some people didn't get injury time added to their agreements. Some people have. It's almost like if you say something and Tony gets butt hurt, he's going to change how the rules apply to you. But if you kiss his ass, like bald FTR does every 5 seconds, you can do whatever the hell it is you want to do, and everything's going to be fine. And as someone watching from the outside, when you see that kind of leadership, it tells you that it's just he's sniveling and weak, and that's no way to run anything. At the You say what you want about Vince. Everybody knew who the boss was. Everybody understood what was going to piss the boss off. Everybody understood what was going to make the boss happy. Everybody understood that, hey, this was the scope of my agreement, and this is how it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, unless he says otherwise, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I either got to find a way to make peace with it and make it work, or I just boo boo face until I get released. The This what you see in AEW, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and frankly, I'll be shocked if within the next 2 years there isn't some kind of massive lawsuit for disparate treatment, because I think it's there. You're gonna waste a year of a guy's career off of because he was on injured reserve, and some of it was your fault when you let other guys come and go. They're going to get smashed because of Tony's incompetence, and it's only going to be a matter of time.
When does Shad Khan pull the plug? Because you got, and I was thinking about this earlier. Like you look at the NFL, and so many of these teams, the Suns are either taking over or they're in charge, and some of them will do pretty well. Kansas City Chiefs, Clark Hunt, San Francisco 49ers, Jed York, Cowboys, Stephen Jones. For most people say he runs the team. You have the Glazers, you have Gail Benson. If you're shot, at what point are you going? We gotta shut this down. You are my heir. You're the only kid who, most of the NFL kids who doesn't have a financial background, doesn't have all this. I'm trusting you with the Jaguars because hey, you're my kid, and he's become ever since he owned AEW, he's become more of the embarrassment. Whether it's been going on NFL TV, calling WWE, was of Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling, wearing the neck brace, his goofy,
Oh,
goofy antics on AEW. I mean, at what point does Shaw go, look, you're my son. We need you to grow up. This was fun, but you have other responsibilities, and I'm tired of you looking bad in front of my peers.
mhm. Well, I guess. Well, I was laughing, right? Because isn't Tony supposed to be a data analyst or something? The so I,
Analytics, yes, he's the
yeah,
analytics guy.
yeah. So to me, I'm like, you mean to tell me you don't have the analytics to see that what you're doing isn't working? The or is the problem that um that one out of one Tony Khan's is satisfied with the product, so everything's okay. So it's out of all your viewers, the only viewer who matters is Tony Khan. The Because I was happy to see that Bischoff had stated what I thought was the case over the last couple of years, is that every time the NBA playoffs roll around, as soon as the playoffs are done, AEW has been showing a 20 to 25% drop off in its current audience for the last 3 years. The That is a problem. That is a problem. That means your hardcore faithful, that pool is shrinking. You're losing them. You're not growing the base. This is a company that's only 5 years old. They should still be in a growth phase. They shouldn't be anywhere near maturity. And instead, they're in retrenchment, and by that I mean it's they're contracting. They're contracting, and it's they're going to have to make some drastic changes to survive. Listen, if I'm Shad Khan, I guess the big difference is these losses are still it's a tax write-off right now. So there's still time to let him play with his to let him play the real life toy before it gets super annoying. They've got the TV deal. There's money coming in, but at some point in time, you're going to want to see it have to start making money. And I know we've got Meltzer doing his best to gaslight people, but after seeing his tweet yesterday about saying that Tony Khan grew the business from $0 to what it is today, clearly no one should be paying attention to Meltzer because Meltzer doesn't understand how businesses function.
But even
The
then, forget about the money. Like this year, I would say has been the worst year for Tony. Going on the NFL Network with that stupid, the neck brace, insulting to be who. By the way, Jonathan Kraft, who owns the Patriots, owns TKO. You don't think that got back to him and went, "Oh, wait a minute here, this little punks, insulting my business and saying if it were this, who the hell, f Tony Khan and the Jacksonville Jaguars." You don't think that sponsors who do business both TKO and WWE heard Tony went, "What the hell is this little, snippy little idiot saying?" Like,
well, that the big
Tony
difference
looks like
is
the idiot, and it's
well,
if you're shot, it's like, oh god, what's my kid said again? What has he
well
done? Oh,
that's the difference, right? If anybody was taking him seriously, the lawsuits would have been flying. Instead, what did he do? He gave the WWE free press. He 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 opens his mouth, and it's a tragedy for him, but it's springtime for the other guys because he kind of he exposes that kind of he's not really to be taken seriously. The I don't know how you get him to grow up. Listen, it's wrestling is not hard, bro. It's not hard. It's not hard. If you know how to tell a story, if you know how to tell a story, if you know how to manage your talent, if you know how to run a business, this isn't that hard. the after 5 years of live producing a show, he should have started to pick up on the tricks of the trade by now. They still make the same silly mistakes. The Within 5 years of having a show, you should kind of have come to grips with the fact that your roster is entirely too large and you got to trim some fat. I know a lot of these kids, especially the younger kids, the indie kids, are on pay per appearance deals. So, yes, you're fine. You get a six-figure contract, assuming he's going to use you on a regular basis. But these guys are sitting at home not doing anything. getting paid to show up to job on ROH every couple of weeks because he signed you. Let these kids go. Let all these people go. Put them back into the wild. Shrink your roster down to a manageable number, and then just bring in people as you actually need them. This all friends nonsense. It didn't work. It failed right out the box. If you're not going to lead, then you have to give it to someone else who's going to lead, and he won't do that. Um, but to go back to the actual question of when did Shad pull the plug? For him right now, he doesn't have to. It probably makes just enough that it keeps Tony out of his hair. You know, the goofy little wrestling guy is going to be the goofy little wrestling guy. You know, yeah, he wore the neck brace at the draft, and yeah, it gave him 48 hours of good coverage, and then on and then in the 72nd hour, he won for somebody said and changed the and changed the framing of his weekend. But that's you're also still dealing with people who look at any media as good media. So it's a little bit of a different mindset, when it comes to that side of the world. But I I don't know. I would say it all depends on how this current deal rolls out. Right? Clearly no one was interested in the product, right? There were no counter offers. No one was knocking their door down. No one really cared. And I would say that TBS. Well, let's see what after they got demoted to TBS, clearly, I would say I would be assuming that they got to stay there because this is a relationship of convenience. They need cheap content. They need cheap content that brings people in. As long as they don't fall off, we'll hold on to them just because we don't have anything else to replace it with as of right now. But at the way it's looking, I would say that the 500 was the magic number, right? Because the once you get below 500, your demographics are so small, it's not worth. There aren't enough people within the given demo to make marketing to them worthwhile. But what happened? Dynamite was at what last was 529, and with no real competition, just no one wanted to watch the damn show. So I don't know. I don't know. But again, listen, we're talking billions upon billions of dollars. The Tony can lose 500 million. That's just a tax write-off for them. So they have, they have the luxury to kind of ride this out way differently than any of us would, or even if the Crafts or anybody else who owns a team would.
Well, we end this by talking about some holiday stuff. So you have a holiday show coming up. I know you're very excited about it. Once again, it's ACW has an event. So where is it? Who's gonna be on the card, and how happy are you that you're ending the year with a wrestling card?
Yeah, yeah, I should have sent you the poster. My bad. Yeah, I love doing these Santa Slam shows. So this is Santa Slam 3 Winter Breakout. This is gonna be it's how we're gonna kind of close out our year until we relaunch again in March. But this is always a fun show. We usually do a live message or a pre-recorded message from Santa for the kids. And then we just have fun, man. It's just a great big old party this year. The date happens to fall in line with one of our valet's birthday parties, the Jersey Jewel, a manager of a Midnight Delight, the Playboy Paulie and Buddy Thomas. So the Jewel has demanded that she get to have her birthday party the same day as the event, and that she was coming with cake. So we all know what happens with birthdays and weddings at a wrestling show. I'm sure that the hijinks will ensue. The other than that, though, we're closing out what was a really fun year. Between our doing the American Dream show that had over 10,000 people at it. I know GCW once upon they were the first ones there. If I had been paying attention that weekend, I would have refuted those claims, but we drew bigger than them, and that's all that matters. We did it without having to without having to try to use the AEW roster or spark some internet outrage to do it. It just stuff of just being wrestling, just being wrestling, just being wrestling and being local and being there for the community. The I've got a lot of fun surprises cooked up for the year. Starting in March, I'm gonna do a little rebranding and then put a little more emphasis on getting getting a bi-weekly show out on the internet, through Instagram, YouTube, and Rumble, just to kind of make the content a little more accessible, and then kind of work on live streaming too. It's get a little more fun just to grow the audience and kind of expand our reach a little bit. But it's there's lots of fun things in store for the product. I'm really proud of the guys that that do these shows. They work really hard. A lot of them have really bright futures, and some of them are guys who've been around for a long time who should have gotten more love, but for whatever reason did not, and they get to apply their craft. But it's fun, man. It's fun. As much of a pain in the ass it is to run a show, getting there, getting it off the ground, seeing everybody have fun, and then send everybody home with a smile or a little annoyed. It makes it all worthwhile. So it's this was a fun year. I'm looking forward to kicking off 2025 with with something new and fun.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we're always blessed to have on the show. I give you professional wrestler, security expert, and all around just a man who doesn't fear anything, including those damn X sensors. Give you a war dog himself, Kevin Apollo. So once again, Kevin, where can fans check you out at? Where's the Twitter, Instagram? Where's the website for the wrestling promotion? Where can fans hit you up at?
Sure. So for the if you ever the ACW site is acwcoliseum.com. Same for the Instagram, acwcoliseum.com, or rather, so ACW Coliseum. Let me make sure. I always forget something. If I asked them to say, oh yeah, so it's ACW underscore Coliseum, COLOSSEUM, for the ACW Instagram. The website is acwcoliseum.com. You can find me on Instagram and X. At Instagram, it's wardog underscore Apollo. And on X, you can either get me at a regular old Kevin Apollo or just War Dog Apollo, no underscore. I'm floating around there. I'm gonna keep both accounts active now that I seem to be unshadow banned enough that I can get in trouble. So, both accounts will be there. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be a little more accessible now that I'm been popping up doing more shows. Toonie Talk and Toonie Talk TV, Toonie Town Wrestling has been fun, and then popping up on WDW Pro every once in a blue moon. So I'm trying to roll out a new gentleman me now that sanity has returned. Sanity has returned a little bit, but I also have a few other things that I'm gonna probably dust off this year too. I'm kicking around doing a pro male podcast with a friend of mine because we got to make sure that our young men are under attack, for the last 10-15 years, and we need them to have a nice positive role model, to kind of be like, hey, don't be a simp, don't be a simp, go work out, go find better things to do with your time. So that's I'll have more about that soon though. But my brother, thank you for having me on. It's always a treat. Don't forget, December 28th, Haverstraw, New York, live from the Haverstraw Community Center. Show starts at 2:30. There's discounts for first responders, DPW, scouts, and military. And because it is a birthday party, yes, if there's a kid there, they will get a piece of cake, before the show's over. So hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Kevin Apollo, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure to have you on the show. We come back, a lot more going on here, only on it's Last Call. Last Call with the alcohol, only on the Last Call podcast on the YouTube channel.com.